GM Anon, welcome to today's episode of Market Capping. Before we begin, I just wanted to remind you that I am not your mom, and nor are any of the speakers on this show. Nothing you hear today is financial advice. You should be a big kid now. Make your own decisions, do your own research, and assume every crypto coin you buy will result in complete losses. If you ever plan on holding anyone other than yourself responsible for your choices, please navigate to the top of your browser window where you'll find the friendly red close button. And now, let the episode begin.
All right, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Market Capping. Before we get started, let's do a quick mic check. Small cap, you want to say something? Hello?
How we doing? You got me?
Yeah, I got you. Okay, I think things are
Perfect.
looking good. Um, Again, before we get started, I just want to do a quick Anata NFT shill and update. As everyone can see, myself and Small Cap are using our Anata NFTs. He's using the full body model. I'm using a little baby chibi model. Just want to give everyone just a preview of what's coming. So let's do a little share. There we go. So we just released some PFPs. So if you have an Anata, everyone got a profile picture to fit theirs. If you look at Small Cap's Twitter, he's actually using his. Um, Small
One of
Cap
the
right
best,
there.
like I get so many compliments on it. It's unreal.
Nice.
Like
There you
they're
go.
like, what is that? So
So now
that's next level.
There you go. So now every single old holder has one. If you want us to Photoshop either some grug legs or booba glasses onto your PFP, just respond to the tweet that we just put up right now, and Froggy on our team will give you some booba glasses or grug legs. But the PFPs are great, and we have 3D VRMs incoming, and the next project we have is actually a full update to the base collection. So just wanted to show everyone what that full update looks like. I'll show you the video here, and then we can get on with the show. So, boom. Some new emotes there. Some, yeah, hand tracking. This is gonna be really cool. And the chibi form is new. All the big ones, we have to click a button and become a chibi in the same thing, just like an emote. It's not like a completely separate NFT, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's Sonata. So let's get back to the show. It's been a long while. I went on vacation, so that was my fault. Sorry about that. Um, but we're gonna start by
What's it
kicking.
been? 4 months?
Yeah, it was a four
Yeah,
month long vacation.
casual bear market vacation.
Exactly.
Good
Bear
for
market
you.
hit, and I was like, all
Glad
right,
to
I'm
have
not
you
touching
back.
grass. Yeah, thank you.
I miss doing these. I'm
Same.
like fired up. Like they're always so fun. Just like spew a bunch of as much alpha as I can, but like I miss doing these. So glad you're back.
Thank you, sir. You want to get started with ETH LSD stuff? I think that's one of the narratives you said you were focusing on.
Yeah, of course. So I think that's one of the top ones. I mean, I think just like LSDs and LSDfi, like things that are being built on top of LSDs, I think it's one of the areas that I'm really trying to focus. It feels like every day I have a few DMs from like a brand new LSD that I've never heard of, and like I think that's a good thing for ETH, if I'm being honest, because it's just going to black hole a ton of ETH, but also, it's kind of hard to pick which ones are going to be the winners of that market. So, um, spending some time diving into LSDs, any projects that are building on top of them. But I think there's so much to be done there. Just because, like, I mean, if you think of ETH and how deflationary it's been over the past, I don't even know, even like month or few weeks, it's nuts. And then on top of that, the earn or the yield that's being earned. So I just think it's a massive market. It's one of the biggest earners in all of crypto is like LSDs on ETH from a fee perspective. So like I think there's just so much to be done there, but extremely bullish on it. I mean, have you looked at LSDs at all, or like where exactly are you playing in that market?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm like a ETH maxi have been for a while, so I actually love this narrative. I'm just putting up the ultrasound money page here, but you can see that since in the last, I don't know what what we're looking at in the last week though, it's been down only. I think if you even look at a longer chart, like 30 days, it's down only. So it's been a long while since ETH supply has gone up. And I think if you look at things like the simulate here, if you look at the difference between Bitcoin issuance and ETH issuance, one is obviously extremely positive and one is quite negative. Um, and although this is a slow Ponzi, I think if we had a bull market and people were also buying ETH and there wasn't just fresh ETH not being sold, it would be absolutely crazy. So gets me really excited
No,
for the future of Ethereum. And I think it also gets me excited when new things launch on Ethereum, right? Like, hey, there's a bunch of meme coins popping off right now and everyone's getting excited about them. And I don't have to feel like I have so much FOMO because I know all the meme coins are just creating ETH users, which are burning fees and making my investment better. So that's why I really like the setup. The next step now
yeah,
is getting exposure to all these fees, right? And that's what the LSD is all about. Is instead of running my own validator, someone else will stake that ETH for me, and then those fees will come to me. And the good part, another good part I like about this narrative is they all need to compete with each other now, right? Everyone's fighting over getting the most TVL, and usually you'd have a race to the bottom situation because it's really hard to make more fees than another person as a LSD business, right? I take your ETH, another competitor takes my ETH. Um, we can really both just run validators and then give the fees back to you. What makes us different? So I think what will determine the winner is a result of who spends the most on making a good Ponzi. So you can see like Frax has done this really cool setup where they incentivize people to hold FRX ETH in like convex and things like that, and then others can stake with them to get the validator rewards from the FRX ETH in convex. So you end up with more ETH staking rewards for those that are staking, but you end up also giving rewards to people that give you ETH to play other Ponzi's in DeFi, right? So people who can
yeah,
do things like that will do well, and then those that are able to make their LSD the best form of collateral, right? So if I have an LSD and all I can do is hold it or do nothing with it, then all I'm getting is fees. But if I have an LSD and I can borrow ETH against it and leverage it or stake my borrowed ETH to get more yields, then I end up with like looping tricks and things along those lines, which keeps ETH locked in the system. So there's various, seems to be like small things people can do, but I'm excited to see it all play out.
yeah. That's fair. Any specific ones you're playing? I mean, like there's a bunch that popped up, and like I feel like if I'm being honest, the move's probably to deposit some ETH in each and like play the
Yes.
airdrop game because they're probably all going to be airdropping a ton of tokens at some point. I
Yeah.
think the ones that are smarter about how they allocate and like I mean, if you look at the projects that really took over or became like a number two, so like the ones that come to mind for me are like Looks Rare kind of upended like the open sea market, and then like Blur like ended up coming kind of like open ending that market again. Like when you like come and take over or become a number two, like I think it's pretty safe to say like a lot of like market cap's massive. They're probably only I'd be shocked if they gain share from here, especially with all the new players. So with that said, it's like, all right, how can some of these smaller players come and really make sure that their LSDs are being used, how like incentivize people to deposit, to stay deposited.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's going to be some Ponzi-nomics built on top of a few of these, and I'm kind
Yeah.
of pretty excited for it. But like also, I think the move is to just get as much exposure across all of them as you can.
Yeah. So there's a couple that have done well. So the first one I deposited in was Swell. These guys launched quite recently. They actually don't have that big of a following. They only have 11K so far. But if you look at their investors, they were all big names, and I think they have even some like popular anons like
Yeah.
Kane from Synthetics. So there wasn't really a lot to do here, but I just deposited a bunch of ETH in there, and I think I became like the second biggest depositor by just depositing 100 ETH. Um, so my goal there is just be early
Such a
with
whale.
And they already announced that they're going to be launching the Swell token. So I don't know if it's called Swell or Well, but they already said they're launching the Swell token. So I assume in order for them to get that out, they're going to give it to the people that use the protocol. So I just staked there, and I'm patiently awaiting an airdrop. I was like the second or third wallet into Lido, and I got a pretty healthy airdrop then. So I figure the same thing will happen here. So that's why I
That's such a
deposited
flex.
here. And then the other one I did was EtherFi. So EtherFi I like because I was part of the seed round, so that was exciting. But when I added there, they recently did this points thing. At the end of the day, they didn't give people an airdrop of EtherFi tokens, whatever they're going to be called, but they did give people like a boosting setup. The difference between like EtherFi and Swell is EtherFi is a little more of a decentralized setup, but you won't have like a liquid staked token. Like there's no equivalent to like ST ETH or something like that you can put up as
Yeah.
collateral. So I think this one's a little more big brain than Swell, but they have a lot of like great people supporting them, including myself. So that's another one I'm excited for. I've been watching. And then the other one I like is MEV ETH. So this is from the Manifold guys. I don't know if they have a Twitter for MEV ETH, but yeah, they don't. But if you look
I
up,
haven't followed Fold.
so
That's the one
Fold,
I probably need to check back on. Like it, I really like it, and I mean like those guys are super smart, but like I just haven't checked in a long time. They
yeah,
were
so
building on top of sushi and like
they
doing MEV
were
on top of sushi. I
exactly.
don't know where
So
a lot of it landed, but
what happened there is Sushi kind of canceled the relationship, and Sushi switching their like product from being just a regular AMM to trying to be more of like an aggregator, which made the old Fold product less useful. But the idea was that you wouldn't get front ran if you went on Sushi because Manifold would protect you from sandwich attacks and then take some of that revenue you would have given to the sandwicher and given and kept it for themselves and given some to Sushi and then given some to you as savings. But then what ended up happening is it never played out. So then they were left in a situation where they had no product. And now what they've done is they went to the Cream guys and they bought out the Cream ETH. Um, and now all the Cream ETH is
uh,
going to become MEV ETH. So it's cool because when they launch, they're going to be launching with like a few here, 25,000 ETH from the get go, right? And then if you look at the market cap of Fold,
so they wait, did they just buy Cream's ETH? Like they're not connected to Cream in any way?
they're not
I'm not a
connected to
Cream
Cream in
guy.
any way.
I won't yeah, I won't touch anything connected to Cream.
Yeah, they're not connected to Cream in any way. So you end up with, I think this is the right fold I'm looking at right now. Yeah, Manifold. So it's like a 30 mil market cap. LSD provider, which is going to start off with 25,000 ETH. It's like $50 million of ETH from the get-go, right? So I like it because they're pre-launching with TVL and already having users. The other reason I like it is because of the meme. Like they're calling it MEV ETH because they're saying if you stake ETH with us, we'll also earn like MEV income and give that to you. I don't know. I'm like a bit small brained with how this stuff works because I haven't ever tried to do MEV stuff myself. So I wonder how much revenue that really is going to result in. But I think there is like a narrative there if they can get more revenues because all the other providers don't have good ways of capturing that. I think there's a thing they can install called MEV Boost or something like that, but I don't know if they pass that back to the user. So these guys are going to try to pass max rewards back to the user. And then hopefully, because they're a little more like DeFi native and they've been around for a while, they know how to play the Ponzi, like they do the aura thing and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I
Well
think
that's
it's a
kind of
decent
like
bet, but people don't trust them because the founder had some like bad past projects. But from what I've seen, it's real, and I've made a small investment there myself.
yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, like, I think there's a bunch of different markets. So like you mentioned Swell. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, their backers are massive. Like, if you,
Yeah,
it's like Mark Cuban's behind it,
yeah.
Franklin from Balancer, which I mean, that just pretty much says, hey, they're gonna end up with like a lot of
Yeah.
liquidity.
Okay, so they're playing
Um,
Aura games for sure.
yeah, the like Aura, Aura is probably definitely. Yeah, I'm almost positive they're gonna be involved somehow. The Bankless guys, so you know, Bankless is gonna be showing
Oh, they'll
it. Like
advertise it for
Swell's
them. Yeah, that's great.
yeah, exactly. So like I think Swell, like from a marketing standpoint, is going to do well. but also like they have the low, they're going like the route of we want to be the cheapest. And like I think they
Mm,
like the quick conversation I had with them was like that they were getting their infrastructure providers to kind of like go pro bono and just like eat the cost for a while, which like I mean I don't know how you
nice.
convince someone to do that, but like
That's what I
hey,
mean.
like I
It's
mean
a race to zero, right? As soon as
yeah,
they do
yeah.
that, then everyone else has to do that to keep up because as users, we're just going to choose whichever product gives us the most yields. And that's why this is quite exciting because all the VCs are going to spend money to get the most amount of TVL, which means they're going to pay a bunch of bribes. And actually, like Aura or Timeless or all these new liquidity players where you can create extra incentives on top of your regular yields could end up being big winners.
Well, see, yeah, I completely agree, and I that's kind of where I was going. Is like I think swells like mark or their value proposition is going to be that hey, we're the cheapest. But
Yeah.
when you look at like some of these other ones, like I sent you a few of them. You don't really have to pull them up. They could be for you later either. But like Root Genesis was one. Enlight Finance was another.
Oh, and there was like
Um,
unsheath.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and like some of them impressed me, some of them didn't. I think like there's going to be a big winner, like whoever wins the omni-chain like liquidity markets, and like I kind of like Swell because they have like stuff like plug it, like if they're working with the Balancer team or Franklin's like an early investor, like that helps a lot. I also think lending and borrowing will be big, like whoever can plug into those markets the best. So like we'll see, but like I think like part of that is hey, where can we get the most utilization cross chain? Is and liquidity. But I think that makes me more bullish on things like Butterfly, like Convex,
Oh yeah, Butterfly's doing
like
a LSD solution too, where it's like
they're building their own. Yeah,
I don't know
but
how
like
it works, but they like give you an RPC endpoint or something wild like that, and it's like a stable coin on top of it all called Dinero.
yes, exactly. It's like pretty much routing some transactions through like dark pools, but they have so many assets in the treasury that like help stack liquidity that they don't need to bootstrap it. So they have a big advantage over everybody else because of all the liquidity assets
Right.
and how they can direct liquidity. So like I mean that alone's massive. But I mean I think like because of that though, other some of these other LSDs are going to be buying into like some of those projects to be able to direct liquidity. Like if
Yeah.
you can buy like I think some of those are pretty undervalued when you look at um, even Aura I think is massively undervalued. Then you look at like Convex or Butterfly. Like as you can start directing liquidity with those, like well the market's like where it is, and before we hit a next bull run, this is when some of those LSDs probably would be acquiring those tokens so they can direct liquidity themselves and don't have to rent it. But that's just my two
Yeah.
cents.
Makes sense. On that note, we should talk about Frax. So, what are you thinking? I've seen a lot of FUD recently that about like how Frax now has to be fully collateralized, so it's all USDC, so then it becomes hard for FXS number to go up. But I think it's actually become more, I would say, more consistent in the revenue it earns now because you don't have to worry about FXS being minted or burned based on the Frax supply, but instead you can be more certain about like based on how much ETH they have staked, how much money are they making, or based on how much people are borrowing in Fraxland, how much money are they making? Um, and there's a couple of new
Yeah.
features that came out there. What do you think about what's going on there?
I mean, Frax is a never ending cycle of, oh no, this is going to kill Frax. And then like Sam does
Yeah,
something
then it's
big
safe.
brained. So
Yeah,
like it's nonstop. And like it's always impressive of how they find ways to dig themselves out of like the FUD cycles. And
yeah,
I mean, I would always like, continue to bet on Sam, to be
yeah.
honest. But
There's two.
I,
I was gonna say
I was just
there's
gonna say I haven't
two.
followed super
Ah,
closely
okay.
like
That's what I'm
lately
going
on
to
the
give
tech
you,
stuff.
the alpha. So there's two
Yeah,
basic things three things that I like there. More recently, first being I saw some rumors that they're working with Paxos, or it might be someone
awesome.
else. But the idea is instead of having USDC, where you hold USDC and Circle buys T-bills and gets like 4 or 5% on them, and you get none of that, then what Frax will do is they'll be backed by Paxos USD, or it was a different one, and that USD that backs Frax will be in T-bills, and 50% of the yields will come back to you. So then, just by holding Frax tokens, they grow by 2.5% if we assume the Treasury bills pay 5%, right? So I think just like a base yield without having to play any DeFi Ponzi's, just grows by 2.5%. I think that's really cool. I don't know why I would hold USDC instead of holding Frax then if that's the situation, right? That's step one. The second thing that I really like that they're talking about right now is this ability to mint Frax against convex positions. I've seen many projects try to do this, but it's always consistently failed because they can't get the borrow rates to be lower than the what people are paying in convex, or they have to emit a bunch of their token, and then the emissions just end up making their token go to zero. But I feel like Frax is established enough, and because they can mint Frax for Frax Lend, they'll be able to make this happen efficiently for people to boost deals people are getting in convex. So I saw this tweet if people want to check it out. But the idea is basically if you go to Fraxland, you can toss in a convex position, mint Frax against it, and then loop into convex, which I think is really cool. And if you look right now on the Frax site, like Frax dot, I don't know if it's going to make me connect my wallet. I haven't set up my logged into my MetaMask on here, but Fraxland is doing quite well here. Like lending against curve right now is paying 9% and users are paying 12% to borrow. So I think that means they're making 3% on this like 14 million of borrowed Frax. Or here against Frax ETH, you only have to pay 1.2% to borrow against it because they can let you mint against it, right? So this Frax Lend product, I'm pretty excited for just because of their ability to mint, and it seems like it's finally starting to pick up some steam. And then the last thing, of course, is FRX ETH, which has been up only and growing while others have been shrinking because they do that Ponzi well, where if you mint FRX ETH, you're not getting validator rewards, but you can play Ponzi's like Convex and whatnot. And then if you stake that FRX for XETH for SFRX ETH, then you not only get your validator rewards, but all the validator rewards from people who didn't stake theirs and used it elsewhere. So they've figured out some cool tricks.
Yeah, that's very fair. I mean, I like it. I like when I think of like how much you can do just off of like LSDs in general. Like it makes me so bullish on some of those larger projects and like the T-bills thing. Like I feel like it scares me a little bit holding like T-bills, bonds. Like there's lots of protocols going that direction now. I feel like that's one of the things that a lot of people have DM me about. Like, hey, do you know any T-bill protocols? So there's a lot of
Yeah,
people doing deep
there's
dive
definitely
or like deep
demand.
dives. Yeah, there's a lot of demand for that, but like, I mean, I've been trying to stay as much out of USD as possible. I know the Dixie will bounce eventually, but like, I mean, it's just in like a free fall. So like, I'd rather not keep as much money in there as possible. Like even like when I have like gone to what I would call stables, like I've been trying to find different ways around it. Like going to I'll sit in Bitcoin instead or Ohm. Ohm's another good one. Like they have like basket assets, some like way more decentralized range bound system, so it pretty much only goes up. Everybody still looks at it as just like a like I don't want to say an ohm fork, but it is ohm. So like
It's the
just
OG
because all
ohm
the ohm
fork.
forks trended to zero, like they actually built something that's like super special, and I think it's going to work well. So pretty bullish on that one as well. But I mean, like just building all these treasuries, like that are gonna like earn consistently based off of ETH and the LSDs, I think is massive for the space. But um, only other note I had on LSDs is one of the things that I've been spending a lot of time on is LSDs like coming down chain. I'll say like most of the focus has been entirely on ETH because it's been by far the biggest market for it. All these protocols are absolutely printing, but I really think like here in the next maybe 3 to 6 months, like a lot of these LSDs are going to be popping up on other chains, and as like the LSDfi takes off, there's going to be a ton of opportunity for some of the different chains that already have staking set up or will be launching it. So, I mean, like Atom already has it. I look at AVAX. I mean, AVAX is just like you're still not outpacing the dilution because they're printing so many new tokens. Like I think they have 150 million dollars worth of AVAX being unlocked next month. So it's not super profitable to like stake, but I really like what they're doing with subnets. So there's some cool LSD projects that are going to be popping up on some of these other chains, and like LSDs anywhere but ETH just haven't caught on yet.
Yeah.
But like as we start to hit a new cycle, like and go up, like there's going to be some awesome ones, and
Yeah.
really,
I have the
um,
Lido page up right here. You can see there's like staked Matic, staked Solana, staked
Solana.
Ethereum, but people don't even like think of them as a staking solution for other chains. And you can see it just by the amount staked, right? Like with Matic, they have 100, or Polygon, they have 104 million of staked, but on Ethereum they have like 11 billion. So it's really a factor of like 10x plus. Um, or
Yeah,
no, wait, is that 100x? Yeah, 100x.
yeah.
Damn.
I mean, I didn't know they didn't have AVAX either. I wasn't even thinking of Solana, but that's a pretty good one. We
Yeah.
could touch on Solana a bit. On AVAX, like they have Benki. Like, do you remember Benki? It's like a lending market.
No. Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's
BENQI.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like QI. QI is
Yeah.
a
G.
like ticker, cash tag ticker. But like they have like over like they have a massive TVL. Like it's one of the top lending markets. It's in the top 10 for lending markets. But also like even when you have ETH LSDs, it's in the top like I think 10 or 11. Like it's number 11 I think on LSDs for most like capital under management. They have like 105 million AVAX staked. 105 million dollars worth of AVAX stake. So it's very big, but like they're doing some cool stuff. So like because their LSD is already used in like DeFi,
Mm-hmm.
like everyday users will use like I think it's SAVAX, and like but they might not actually be running a validator themselves, of course. But like they have a voting like VEQI where if you stack a bunch of VEQI, it's similar to Platypus where it takes you like 10 months to get to the max amount, but you can use your VEQI to vote on which validator those extra like staked AVAX are pointed towards. So if you're running like a big validator on AVAX, you can get maybe 5x the amount by buying up QI and like staking it long
Oh,
term.
interesting.
So like yeah, I really want them to build a bribe market on it. So like all these like smaller people can profit and say like, all right, if you're gonna get an extra 6%, kick me back like 0.05 and I'll vote for your validator. Like I think it'd be honestly so cool for them to do that. But like honestly, there's just so much cool stuff being built on top of LSDs. But like I really do see it going to some of these other side chains. The problem right now is just ETH's the only one that's somewhat deflationary. The other ones just have too many emissions that it's not quite worth it yet. But
Yeah.
um,
Okay. We should
let's
move
dive into
past. Let's
Solana.
Yeah. Let's move
Yeah,
past staking or LSDs. I think. Yeah. We can talk about Solana. I think I also want to touch on RFV stuff. I have one, two, uh, three, four, five RFV projects to talk about, but I think we should do RFV stuff at the end actually, because those are quick. I can just nibble
did a
through them.
Solana project. I thought.
Yeah, I do have a Solana
Yeah, yeah.
project.
Let's do that one real quick.
Yeah, so one Solana project I wanted to bring up was Ori. So what I like about them is I think one of the sticking points from NFT time is GameFi, right? We saw GameFi get a lot of hype, but the only games that hit momentum and started working was like Axes, and then for me, I remember some small Ponzi's like the Wolf game or DeFi Kingdoms, and Ori is one of those games that raised a ton of money, but I feel like it lost the narrative on crypto Twitter. So I just wanted to kind of like throw back to the memory of it, because I noticed that like right now it's trading pretty low. Like um, I think it's at like an 11 mil, yeah, it's like a 12 mil market cap and a 55 mil FDV. And if you join the Discord and do a quick search for like Treasury, the team like continuously reminds people that they still have $70 million on chain. So they raised something like 100 mil. I think they lost like 20 mil in the FTX scandal, and then they spent like 10, but they still have $70 million of stable coins on chain. So it's like trading
Yeah,
below its
that's a
treasury
lot.
value, but it's not like a backed project, so I don't see it as RFV or anything. But I do see it as if we think GameFi is going to work, this should be like a good contender because they can continue to release more and more games until they find one that hits. So I was looking at some of their recent updates, and I saw this thread, but they seem to be like about to launch Ori Adventures, um, which is two things. So one, it's like this open metaverse type play where people can hang out with their NFTs and chit chat with each other or whatever. But then two, it's like the next part of their game, which is this thing called Blitz Battles. So their first game I actually tried and it was a lot of fun. It's like an in-browser game, but the problem was it's quite complicated and it took a lot of time to learn. But if you're interested in it, you should check out Mr. Kvac. But he's pretty big in the parallel community and he plays a lot of Ori. He has this burning Helios, but he streams like his strategies and all that kind of stuff. But it's a very deep, hard game. I think what they learned is that they need something faster and easy to play with, and that's this new Blitz thing. And it seems like that's just around the corner to launch. So I've been scooping up a little bit of Ori, and I think their biggest problem is that one, the last game was a bit too complicated, and two is they've been stuck on the Solana ecosystem. So I'm hoping they realize that and try to launch on a new chain or something along those lines, and then ship this like faster moving, more Pokemon-like game. And then if not, they still have $70 million to keep trying stuff. So for me, that's like book value undervalued, but also like they're shipping still. So I'm excited to see where they land and if this is a fun game or not.
Yeah. I mean, I think GameFi is one of those things like there's gonna be it's like if you're not haven't fully made it yet, like I feel like there's gonna be like when GameFi takes off, it's not gonna be a bunch of whales who get in early. Like that's not gonna be the project that wins.
Yeah,
It's gonna be like some random project that's actually fun to play and a bunch
yeah,
of like people are gonna make it big. But
yeah,
I mean, I that's just a market I struggle in. Like GameFi, I it's not just not a strong suit for me.
yeah. For me,
But
it's
you
just
play
because of
game
the
you play
parallel
like
and
stuff
this.
more than I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to play the games because it makes it fun. Like I'm always looking for something fun to do in crypto that's like an actual use case that isn't just us PvPing, dumping on each other, providing liquidity, being gigabrains. That's why I kind of like
Yeah.
meme coins because they almost feel like GameFi in a way, but they're like closer to gambling. But I feel like these GameFi games will actually be cool and CS:GO markets and things that have proven that people are willing to buy skins. You just have to make a popular enough game. So yeah, I'm excited for that
Just
and Parallel. Those are probably
okay.
the two GameFi games I'm most excited for.
Just like on Solana, like
Hmm.
I think two things that have me somewhat bullish on it, and like I've talked about, um, like mobile applications being very big
Oh, Solana
next
phone.
level. Like I'm 1,000% getting a Solana phone.
You're
Like
getting a Solana
I
phone?
yeah,
Damn.
100%, man. It's
Did you
gonna
order
like
it yet?
there's no way that just doesn't print airdrops. Like there's gonna be like it's gonna pay for
Yeah, they
itself
will.
like
Download this
immediately.
app and
Yeah.
get a free get
I
tokens
don't
for
even know if
free
I'll
or some
use it. I'll
shit.
just leave it like in a drawer or something. But
I I
there's
saw
no way that doesn't print airdrops.
I
Like
have a friend that ordered three of them, I think. But
yeah,
I bet it'd be a thing to like Sybil attack, just like get 1,000 Solana phones and and get airdrops for each one or something like that.
that's probably what's gonna happen. And
Yeah,
their
they might try
numbers
to
are gonna be
use it.
insane. They'll be competing
Yeah.
with Apple or something because like they're selling so many phones, but just because they're printing airdrops. But like I really do think that that's gonna be the case, and like that
Yeah.
makes me bullish on Solana.
It could even be a
And
Sybil
like
resistant tool, you know, like to buy hardware is much harder than spin up 90 MetaMask wallets.
yeah, I
Like
mean
pure
I get it, and
verify.
like
Yeah.
I think like when I talk to like my friends that don't do crypto, like the two most common things that I feel like are issues are like one, they don't want to leave Coinbase, like they don't fully understand like the on-chain stuff.
Yeah.
So they're like, what can I do within Coinbase's walls? And like I think that's an issue. And the second one is just like you have to be in front of your computer for almost everything, which is just absolutely brutal. And there's reasons for
Right.
that, but like also like the more like it becomes a mobile like Web3 goes mobile, like where I honestly think it belongs. That's where it matures. Like I think that's where the projects will absolutely crush it, who are very mobile friendly. But I would say the only other thing that makes me super bullish Solana is there's so many tokens locked up in lawsuits that it's pretty insane. So like we're probably not going
Yes.
to see those until like what was the Mount Gox like? What is it?
It was
Like
years,
eight
yeah.
years, seven
Well,
years,
the
7 years,
liquidators are moving pretty quickly. I'm actually trying to buy
so 5 years.
some of a coin I'm not going to talk about from the liquidators. I've been emailing them nonstop. But if I can get my hands on that coin, I'll share it a little more, but I don't want to create competition over it. But
Yeah.
I think
Tell
it'll
me
be
afterwards.
yeah, I'll show you on it
Yeah.
afterwards. But
Yeah.
I think it'll be out. I think it'll be handled sooner than most people think. I don't think it's like a 3 year process. I think it's probably like
Yeah.
1 year maybe. And people will get their piece back because there's definitely demand for a lot of those tokens, right? Like one of them is even Ori. Like they have FTX invested in them, so they have a bunch of investing tokens. And I'm sure there'd be a lot of people that are willing to buy those, especially given how much cash they still have in the bank, right? So at some price, there's a number. I think they're gonna have a hard time selling the garbage like Maps or whatever, Oxy. But the other things should be okay.
Yeah, 100%.
While
Um,
we're talking about chains, are you doing any? Did you look at this Sui release? I haven't looked at it at all, but I keep seeing it on Twitter.
I'm a big time like fan of Sui.
Really?
There's yeah, like I mean it to me it feels like Aptos was a big like VC chain where like all
Yeah.
of those big valuations and like all of these just massive players have been involved. So I feel like Sui's the one that has a chance to like really send and people aren't paying enough attention to. But like I think there's more opportunity for retail. I've had conversations with different projects there. I I haven't really found anything I love. There's one Dex like Aftermath Finance that was being sponsored by like the Meiston Labs team, but I'm not positive. So I'm tracking some stuff there, but like I haven't fully committed to anything yet.
How do I? You want to walk us through how we get Sui tokens?
I
Is
haven't got that far. No,
Okay, I
I'm
haven't
just
got that
bullish on
far
the
either.
ecosystem and I'm starting tracking. Yeah, I'm
Because I
just
heard,
tracking projects as I
yeah, I
see
heard
them.
there's no airdrop, but it's like 50% team, 50% ecosystem, and then there's some like small public sale. So I guess not 50-50, but all right, I guess some
Yeah.
things. There's homework for everyone. Look into Sui and let us know how to actually get some. Um, what about so you what about Aptos then? You don't like Aptos? You do like Aptos? What do you think about it?
I mean, I like it. I like it. So I really like the more research. So I'm not a dev. So I'll
Yeah.
start there. So devs will probably like yell at me, but like from what I've learned, like I feel like I really like the move, like language. Like I've only heard good things, and it seems like devs really like it. And if you can keep devs happy and do innovative stuff with the code base, I think that makes a massive difference. So it'll be interesting to see like how that kind of plays out. But like I mean, I think a lot more of the innovative L1s and L1s that I've been looking at have been built on like a Rust-based
Yeah, it
code base.
feels like
So
this Rust thing is gonna take off one way or another.
yeah, and I mean like, I mean there's some pretty big backers of it too. Like I think was it Jack Dorsey who like came out and like tweeted like Web3 will be built on Rust. Like so like I don't fully have an opinion on that because like I said I don't write code, but like
Yeah.
I go where like the more innovation happens, and it seems like that there's going to be a decent amount of opportunity like following some of these Rust based and Move projects. And I
Yeah.
think you'll be able to do things that you can't do on ETH. So I'm excited about that piece, but it's like they kind of have to put it into practice.
Yeah.
But
So this is what I wanted to bring up about Aptos though is that this thing is a 10 billion FDV. It's $2 billion circulating, right? Um, is obviously like value in the chain, but if you look at value on the chain, there's only 50 mil TVL. Like Mev ETH has more ETH coming to be staked on this than all of the TVL on the chain. So I think the
yeah,
problem that these chains have is people are excited for the chain because there's so many investors and so much good marketing and some new technology. But then when the chain launches, there's not a lot of people using the chain. So my usual strategy is to find the projects on the chain that are going to succeed and invest in them, and then they kind of like go up hopefully more than the actual chain itself. So one I wanted to share with everyone is Thala. So I also seeded this one, so just putting that disclaimer out there, whatever. But they've grown to be the number one TVL on the entire chain, and the market cap is like 30 mil or something like that FDV, and like circ cap is like 4 mil, right? So I think it's worth. I gave it a try the other day. It was really fun because the process of using them involves bridging money from Ethereum to there using layer zero. So I'm hoping that, oh, now I'm a layer zero user, so I can maybe get some layer zero tokens when they eventually finally do that airdrop. And then I have layer zero USDC, and then it's some regular DeFi stuff on there. So minted some stables against it, minted some of their stables against it, put some money in their stability pool, did some USDC mod farming. But outside of that, I don't know what to do next on Aptos. I'm kind of just stuck. So I think it's in this like season of trying to build up an ecosystem. I think they need NFTs, they need some games, they need other competitors. But right now it's just Pancake Swap and Thala. Is all I see
yeah.
there, and I think Sui will have the same problem. So I'm excited to see
It,
how they combat that.
Yeah, like Aptos kind of reminds me of Near. Like you have all
Yeah,
of these just like VCs that just piled in, and then you got like these
Yeah.
massive valuations, and as stuff starts collapsing and like people are trying to redeem from some of these funds and like
Yeah.
they're in trouble and need liquidity elsewhere, like that these projects just get crushed.
Yeah.
So like I think also like if I'm part of like Near, Aptos, Sui, like I think they are. I almost feel like they're waiting for a hype cycle to kind of kick off, and
Yeah.
then they'll just like flood everything with announcements and like they'll
I
start
hope
crushing it.
I hope they do an
But I don't
ecosystem.
know.
The ecosystem programs work, right? Like if they give
Yeah,
all, if the bunch of projects show up and they give them all like enough money, like they have a $10 billion market cap. If they spend like $200 million of that 10 billion on creating incentives to come try Aptos, and you let their projects use those tokens, then they will drag users from Ethereum to there. Like that's what I was dragged there for yields. And I found when I used it, I was like, wow, this is really fast, really seamless. It felt like using Solana early. But I don't see any like, oh, I could do this, I couldn't do this on Ethereum, or I couldn't do this anywhere else. But I think ecosystem rewards is the right way for them to do it. So I'm hoping the foundations realize that and start making them happen.
yeah, that's fair. Just kind of on that point, like I think a lot of people are focusing on maybe the top like five blockchains, and like even when
Yeah.
they're venturing away from like Arbitrum and Optimism, which I'm bullish on both of those just based off of like if you think we get a bull run and ETH gets burnt, like how expensive transactions are going to be on mainnet, it's going to be nuts. I mean, Vitalik even talked about it on the last upgrade, but like when you start to look at like some of the top five blockchains, like there isn't a whole lot going on beneath them right now.
Right.
But there's going to be some new up and coming ones. Like I've spent a lot of time starting to research like some like smaller L1s. We'll probably
Okay.
touch on those. I would say like a future show, but
Future
like I
episode.
really
Okay.
like Nexa and like I mean there's some pretty cool ones
How
that are
about
coming up that are like
Synapse chain?
Synapse. Like I don't know much about it. Like I
Okay.
know that they said they were releasing it, but you want to pill me?
Yeah.
Give me the
Well, for me, I got some just for the narrative of it because exactly what you're saying, right? Like what I've noticed in crypto is layer ones tend to be at the top of the charts, even if they don't make a lot of money. I guess people just like to buy them. I don't really know why, but the narrative works.
so
So
true.
I noticed Synapse was buying or was launching is launching a chain. So they put out a Medium article a long time ago saying that they're launching Synapse chain. It was like a Mirror article. One second, let me bring it up. Um, I don't know if my internet went or this is them, but oh, there we go. Okay. So yeah, this was July 2022, and since then there's literally been no news on it. Um, so if you look through it, basically the goal is to do like cross-chain messaging stuff. I like this because it probably plays into some narrative with Layer Zero. Like Layer Zero just raised at a $3 billion valuation, right, for doing cross-chain
I didn't know
messaging
that.
stuff. Um, so now if Synapse comes in and is also doing cross-chain messaging stuff, then maybe people can start to draw a comparison and be like, oh, well, if they raised at 3 billion, then how much is Synapse worth? And then there's also like a full-on layer one with proof of stake. Um, so I like it because in the worst case, you have this bridge that everyone actually uses, and in the best case, you have like a full-on layer one. And then if you look at the market cap of Synapse, it's like I don't think it's too high. Like it's not priced like a layer one, you know? Yeah. Okay, so it's priced
Yeah.
at like 150 mil FDV or 200 mil FDV, 150 mil circ. So most of the tokens are already out there. Um, and then there's $200 million in there, and I think that's just people providing liquidity for the bridge. And if you look at the Explorer, like how Synapse is doing, like it's not a bad bridge. I understand like bridge tokens have been pretty down only because they're just like farm and dumpable, but these guys have made like $23 million in fees. For I don't know if this is for their LPs or for the protocol directly. I would look into that. But this is a pretty active, like
Nuts.
healthy bridge. And then if they launch a chain on top of that, it's like worst case bridge, best case like full on layer one. And I saw that Aurelius, who is like one of the devs at Synapse, um, recently tweeted this like almost there thing. So in the Discord, people were saying like he's talking about SynChain. So it seems like from a few days ago, it is almost there. So I like the trade because I think once the chain launches, then maybe the whole layer one-ness of it will get priced in, or maybe the whole comparison to layer zero will get priced in. But those are the main things I'm hoping for. Otherwise, there's been some like FUD because this guy from Coinbase that used to work at Synapse, Max Brones. I don't know his name here, Max
I
Bronstein,
don't
but
know.
yeah, this guy used to work at Coinbase and everyone liked him because then he went to Synapse, but then he said previously Synapse, so he left. But I feel like the community is like just grasping at any small piece of information they can get, but everyone's just like patiently awaiting something. And since we know they've been working on this Syn chain since like late 2022 and they're almost launching, I think it'll be like a very key time. So that's a layer one I'm quite excited about. And then the other layer one I'm excited about is called Monad. Um, I seeded that one too a while back, and they haven't launched yet, but it's another like very high throughput chain from I think they were like X Jump guys. So I'm in their Discord, but they haven't really launched much yet, but worth keeping an eye on.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, like I kind of look at that as, I mean, that's a good opportunity, and there's probably ways to get position yourself to get a piece of it. Like I think it's VE Syn. Like I haven't ever really purchased Syn like Synapse, but like you
Yeah, I've
could
just been holding
probably
it
get an
naked.
airdrop. You're just holding it naked.
I'm just
I
holding
would
it
assume
naked.
that they give like something to people who are locked.
I
I
don't
think
even
you
think there
can
is
lock.
locking. Is there
I thought
locking?
there was. Yeah, I thought
Okay.
there was, but
Then
I
works
mean, I
for
could
us
be wrong
both.
there. Okay, I could be wrong there. Like I'm just kind of guessing on that one, but I
Yeah, I'm
thought
not
there
sure.
was. Um, but like I mean, I think those will be the chains that will like have a better chance to do what Solana did last cycle. Like it's
Yeah.
got to be something pretty new. Like just an example, like Kronos, like this week, like CRO, like they announced like a partnership with like AWS, like Web3, like to build out Web3 startups, and like CRO barely moved. And like that's a
Okay.
pretty big partnership, but like then you go down like the chain, it's like all right, like they're doing some good stuff. I'm also a little bit scared of like crypto.com's banking relationships, but it's another story. But if you look at like maybe the 100 million to 500 million like range of just like CoinGecko and go through and like look at all the L1s, there's so much value to be had. Like
Mm-hmm.
I mean like I've started to go one by one, and I'll touch on some of them in the future, like either on
Yeah.
Twitter or on here. But like I think that's where it's worth taking some flyers on some of these that are going to be launching change, just because of what you said. The valuation, like it tends
Yeah.
to trend up extremely quickly, and then on top of that, if you get into some of the smaller caps that launch on those chains, they fly. So
Yeah. Well, and
just because of the
Barachain.
liquidity.
Remember we did an episode
Yeah,
Barachain and they just
should
announced a
have them
raise.
back on.
Yeah, we should do a follow up with them now that they've done a raise, but they raised at a $420 million valuation. See there, that's what I'm saying. Like these layer ones, they get valued really highly. Like Synapse valued at like half of that, but in the worst case, you get this bridge, and you also get the full on layer one that's launching soon, right? Um, Barachain raised 42 mil at 420, and they're doing some pretty cool stuff because they're having
They're
like a
doing a
lot
lot of
of the
staking.
apps built into the chain, right? And I think that's
Yeah.
their main difference. I saw a little bit of FUD because it's like a Cosmos chain, so people are just like, oh, this is EVMOS again. But I think those people that are saying that are missing the fact that there's already a lot of committed TVL to the chain from a lot of Ethereum projects like Temple and Concave and those guys. But also the apps on the chain give revenue to the token holders. So it's like a different way of earning money, which is quite Canto like. So I'm excited to see that
Yeah.
play out. And I think very few pre launch chains have as crazy of a community as they have. So with the community, with revenue going to holders, with guaranteed TVL, it could be a quite exciting launch. Would definitely take
Yeah,
another look
I
at.
I think like what they're building is like LSDfi. It's like staking, and like they're building all of the protocols into the
Yeah,
actual chain to like help
yeah,
build out their
Canto like.
security. So like
Yeah.
that entire narrative that we just talked through is pretty much what Barachain's building. Yeah, like my only thing on that one is like I haven't looked through the tokenomics. I don't even know if they've released them.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to see more on that of like, hey, what's going to the NFTs, what's going to all these angels, how do they invest? Because that's another one. Like
Right.
I feel like there's a lot of people in multiple rounds there,
Yeah.
and like it depends like kind of how much is built when they first launch. Is it going to be a little bit more like I would think Smokey's smarter than to launch without much there. But like I think at Aptos, like as an example, like Aptos was that way. Like there was nothing there as soon as they launched, and the token just collapsed because they
I
did an
don't think
airdrop.
The Aptos guys, I feel like they weren't DeFi natives. Like there would be
No, no,
if
no
you know what I
way.
mean? They would feel like they would have got a
Yeah,
lot more projects to like be on their chain by now if they were. Whereas
yeah, I
these
agree.
the Bear chain guys, like I feel like they know all of the popular ETH projects. So they've probably done some really good biz dev, and they've probably really realized that ecosystem rewards was going to drag people over. So I hope they have that
Agreed.
down, but I'd be
I
shocked if
I
they
think
don't.
it's just like, yeah, like I have full faith in Smokey. Like I know he's extremely smart and knows what he's doing. I just think of like things like, all right, we're building everything on top of like LSDs for the most part, or staking, and like you're building that into all the projects. Like what I mean by that is dilution gonna like, are you gonna make enough off of staking to
I see.
outpace the dilution?
Right.
Like so like that's what I don't know. And like with all those people in the round, like I think there's gonna be a lot of math to be done, and I'd like to do it when I can dive into tokenomics, but I haven't seen them yet.
Yeah.
But like I'm still super bullish on what they're building, and I think that's the entire narrative that we just crushed with LSDfi. So
Sure.
like what they
You
got going on.
you want to talk about the Uni V3 stuff and timeless/lit?
Sure. Which do you want to do first? You want
Well, they're both kind of the
to
same
you
thing, right? One's an aggregator of
yeah
Uni V3. Why don't you? I think you had some like
yeah
narrative stuff you wanted to cover on it. So why don't we do that? Then we can go into the
yeah
Ponzi that supercharges Uni V3.
yeah. I mean, so one of the things I was just I see as a narrative is just concentrated liquidity. Every single DEX that I follow is moving towards concentrated liquidity in some way, shape, or form. Like some are already like there. A lot of them are integrating like partner projects. Like I think a lot of them are using algebra. Like you're seeing a lot of solidly forks, Camelot integrated algebra, and a lot of people are going with
What's
that
algebra?
model. So they built like their own like code base for concentrated liquidity. So like
Okay.
you know how so like yeah they're like partnering where your other protocols are using algebra to launch concentrated liquidity.
Okay.
So like the way that it works is it's they have their own oracle. I might get some of this wrong, so everybody got to do your own research on this one. But this is off memory. So they have their own oracle that helps price based off of volatility. So if things extremely volatile, like the Oracle actually updates based off of that. So it helps the LPs not get crushed when there's massive volatility. But like the way it works, I believe it's like I don't know, like 12 or 24 hours in the past is where it's taking some of the pricing off. So there's a few things I'm iffy on it, but like we'll see how it works out longer term. But the point is like there's a lot of users in DeFi who don't know how to do concentrated liquidity yet. And because of that, I think one, everybody should take some time and learn. If you don't know that yet or haven't played with concentrated liquidity and like opened an LP pair, do it with small amounts to start and like get a hang of it. But also like it's a little bit more active, I feel like, than providing like Uni V2 liquidity. So I would say like from that standpoint, I'm seeing protocols start to pop up that are doing like Uni V3 managed liquidity. A lot of them are doing like building on top of algebra, as I mentioned, but um, it's all going towards the concentrated liquidity model. So protocols like Stake Finance is doing it for Trader Joe. I really like those guys, super memeable, and like Trader Joe kind of crushes it. Still a big
You
fan of the Trader Joe team
you
and
made me buy
product, but
Joe
like
last time at last market capping. I think at like 20 cents, and it's up like 3x from there. But I got FUD. I got not FUDed out, but I got like lazy of waiting and sold too much of it. Still made
yeah,
money, but could have made a lot more.
yeah, I think I was just early to that narrative,
Yeah,
but
very early.
it yeah, but I mean, I think it's going to start to do way better too. Like it's nearly fully diluted, which I'm kind of looking for projects that are in that range, and like it just doesn't have massive fee intake. So that's one of my I would say biggest issues as of right now with Joe. But they're doing some stuff to work towards taking in bigger fees. But
Nice.
Stake Hut is doing like managed concentrated liquidity
Was it called
and building
Steak
on
Hut?
top of them. Stake Hut, yeah, it's like
Okay.
they have little cows, and their Twitter's actually awesome. I'm a
Okay.
big fan of those guys. And then like GND just launched. It's a little bit more of a Ponzi, and then I'm a little bit iffy on it. Like I really like what they're doing, but also they had some like staking contract errors in the first week and stuff like that. So I'm a little bit more worried on safety on that one. But pretty much what they're doing, they're saying like, hey, deposit your LP, say it's like USDC and ETH.
Yeah.
We'll manage it for you. We'll pick your ranges, and like we have a liquidity engine that does it. And instead of earning fees on that, like you don't earn USDC and ETH based off the trading. They keep that for their treasury, and they pay you out in GND and XGND. So like it's
So
almost
they
like
take a
a,
hundred
a
percent of
bond.
the swap fees.
Yeah, like they're keeping
I
the
see.
swap fees and they're paying you out their token. So like
But
I
if you
like
know,
it, and
yeah. Yeah.
You go ahead.
I don't know. It
I
seems
like it.
unsustainable, but I get it.
It somewhat does. It somewhat is, but I mean, like they have a lot of it going towards buybacks, so they're keeping the price up, and like it's not just like, hey, we're just printing more and more tokens.
Yeah,
Like it's kind of as TVL grows, and as volumes grow, it's going to be profitable. But like I think that's the biggest piece is you have to pay attention to volumes and stuff like that on chain for some of those projects. But
I see. Yeah.
I'm pretty bullish on concentrated liquidity like management projects, and like I've been spending a lot of time there.
I think you just have to be a bit careful with them because they can force you into a very tight range, and then you got to remember
Yes.
your IL also gets multiplied, right? Like on a regular Uni V2 LP, for every time something doubles, you get like 6% IL. But if you concentrate it heavily, you could get like, 30-40% ILs uh, if you put the liquidity in the wrong spot. So if you're using a manager, just make sure you really understand what that means. I think the managers for like stable pairs like ETH SDETH or USDC Frax are like extremely safe, right? You might as well just provide it
Yeah.
across like one or two ticks because you don't need to cover the rest of the range. Um, but for like shitcoins, it can be dangerous. So just be sure you want to actually buy this coin if it goes to the bottom of the range and sell all of your coin if it goes to the top of the range. Um, one I really like is Bunny. Have you looked into that?
A little bit. I really like the lit model, like lit, oh lit. Like I think
Hmm.
is one of the more innovative models I've seen, and it kind of fires me up. So,
Yeah,
I those guys seem super smart, but haven't met them, and or I haven't bought
nice.
it myself.
So it's actually, so it's interesting because the project was originally called Timeless, but then they launched another product called Bunny, and Bunny has become far more successful than Timeless was. So it
Yeah.
was created by Zephram and the like 88 MPH guy. I forget his name off the top of my head, but the two of them together built essentially curve tokenomics on top of Uni v3. So the idea is you provide liquidity on Uni v3 to farm lit tokens, just as you would provide liquidity on Curve to farm Curve tokens, right? And when you provide that liquidity, they keep part of the swap fees and you get the rest of the swap fees, but you also get to farm their token on top. But when you farm their token, they have the exact same setup of Curve where you have to like lock in gauges and then there's a gauge vote for who gets more, and then essentially you get, just like you have the curve wars, you're going to get the lit wars if people start fighting over lit emissions. So very similar to curve, but they have a couple of unique changes that I liked. One being that it's like 10x more powerful to lock your lit, that instead of like having a 3x boost, you can get up to a 10x boost. And the other is instead of farming curve slash lit tokens directly, what you're farming is options. And how the options work is you give them the what you farmed, and you put half of the value up as ETH to get lit, which you can then dump. And what essentially means is for every dollar they emit, they get 50 cents into their treasury. So by having mercenary farmers, they still have to add value to the treasury in order to be mercenary. And I think this is a model that more people are going to adopt once they see how well it's really worked. So I started farming this like really early. If you're going to try it, I would recommend, just like I said before, try to use these like stable pairs because if you're providing concentrated liquidity on them, it's safe, right? So sorry, but you can see Frax is already here. Like when Frax is early to one of these like games, you know it's going to be good, right? They're early to Curve, they're early to Convex, and now they're getting early to Lit, which got me a little bit excited. But I think they've been either buying Lit or they've been bribing Lit holders to give them emissions. But if you lock up your Lit, you can get up to 65% APR on Frax ETH, right? And this is what I was talking about before, where they incentivize people to use Frax ETH instead of SFRX ETH. So then SFRX ETH people get the validator rewards from here, but I still get my 65%. So I'm happier. It doesn't really matter, right? Or Frax USDC, same thing. So you can just go here, add liquidity, and then it'll add it to Uni V3 for you. So it's cool. It's a cool setup, but there's a few key changes that they launched recently that got me excited. One is all the swap fees that they earn are going to go to VE lit holders. So right now, 50% of swap fees get taken by the DAO, but they're going to reduce that to 10%. So 10% of swap fees will go to VE lit holders. The other 90% get kept by the LPs. So it's like you were saying about that previous project, but instead of 100%, it's 10%. So much
Yeah.
healthier. I still get my LP rewards and I get lit tokens. And if I'm a VE lit holder, I get distributed all the swap fees. So this vote seems to be passing, which is nice. And then the other one is they're going to give I think half of the OLIT redemptions from the treasury directly to VE lit holders. And I think this is pretty big. Like this is
That's sick.
already
Yeah.
360 ETH at the time of writing um, for past OLIT redemptions. I saved the Ether scan here, but you can see they have already sucked in here 378 ETH from OLIT redemption. So there's about 708K of value for VE lit holders. I don't know if this is all of it. It might be half of this then if they're only giving 50%. But there's some math to look up there. I would just go look up this vote and read the details. But there's actually not a lot of VE lit. So I think I bought not much of it, and I was able to command like a real 1% plus VE lit supply with not a lot of funds, which let me farm it pretty aggressively. So right now there's only like 5 million VE lit. And I think each VE lit is something like 50 cents, so or 6 million. So it's about like $3 million of VE lit only that's going to get distributed like 300 ETH, or no wait, so 50% of it actually. So that $3 million is going to get distributed half of this, so 350K. So something like 10% APR in just like real yield, real fees. Um, so
Yeah.
it's
Well,
exciting,
yeah.
and
I would
yeah,
just add, like, I mean, like, I completely agree, and
and then the
like,
boosts.
I was like, one of the things that I think almost everybody across DeFi discounts is how different the volumes are between like a full bull market and where we are today. Like the
Yeah,
volumes are dry, like completely
yeah,
dry. But we had Trader Joe and Platypus and like these like smaller dexes, like like not tiny, but they were doing $4 or $5 billion worth of volume a day,
that's
like
crazy.
insane amounts. But like when
Yeah,
you're talking about concentrated liquidity and some of these projects profiting off the volume, like I think that's like a narrative that not enough people are looking into, because as
once
soon
we
as
hit a bull,
volumes pick up, you can
right,
get a chunk of that. Like you can't really profit off of uni. Like what I mean by that is like they don't pay out like fees to like VE uni, or like
right,
they talked about turning a fee switch on, but like the big market is who's going to build a like liquidity manager on top of uni that's going to manage like tens of billions of dollars. Then also when the volumes pick up, you're going to be able to profit off those volumes, and like that's pretty much what Lit's doing. But like
right.
if those volumes do like 100x from where they are today, like Lit's going to follow. And I think more
Yeah,
and more people should be spending time trying to figure out not how they can profit off of like small fees based off of there's real yield out there that is more Ponzi-nomics than it is like based off of actual activity on chain. But finding ways to profit off of volume in the upcoming cycles is one of the areas I spend the most time on. So
yeah,
I really love that they're doing it that way. Like it's also why I'm bullish on just concentrated liquidity management
that's a
in
good point.
general.
There's a lot of good stats out there. Like I think with like 1/10 of the TVL of Curve, Bunny was able to process the same amount of volume because they concentrated the liquidity so well on like the Frax USDC stable pool. You know?
Yeah. And like I think the other thing to consider is a lot of these like exchanges are trying to build their own. Like I'll use Trader Joe as an example. Like I know they're probably working on their own model, but Stakeout and like other people are building on top of it. Same with some of these solidly forks, like trying to build liquidity management on top of it. Like some of these projects, like it could be Uni, it could be Trader Joe, like whatever. They might not have the best in-house solution. Like there could be somebody who figures out a better way to do it in a more efficient liquidity engine, and then they're going to take up a bunch of the fees. I mean, it's still bullish for that DEX because they're taking some of the swap fees off the top, but like the projects that crush the liquidity management are going to be game changing from a make it standpoint in DeFi, at least in my
Nice.
opinion.
Um,
What else you got?
yep. I mean, we're 7 minutes over time,
RFB?
so
Well,
yeah, you want me to
it
just
was a
run
quick
through the
check.
RFEs and we can wrap it up?
Yep, let's do it.
Cool, let's let's do it. Okay. I got like 7 of them here, so I'm gonna just race through it, and if you pause me when needed. So first one I wanted to touch on was Argon. So this was like interesting because it's a 2017 ICO, and we haven't had any of those like 2017 era massive raises do any RFE type stuff. But this one is like very firmly trading below its treasury value, and they've done buybacks in the past that it made me comfortable buying like a decent chunk. I didn't go like all in like with Temple or with the others, but I bought a decent amount so far. They have $215 million in their treasury, and then of that, 25 mil is Ant, right? So you remove like you can't back it with itself. So you remove that, and it's like 180, 190 million or whatever. And the market cap right now, I think, is um, yeah, 120 million, but you have to remove the 20 mil that's in the treasury. So it's about like a 2x. I think if you do the math of RF of like take the treasury value, reduce the ant, divide it by user circulating, and you end up with about $6 or like in the range of 580 to 6. So there's definitely good upside if they did buybacks to at least their book value or if they did like some sort of claims or something like that. Now, this one was exciting for me until a few hours ago. This morning, what happened was I think someone from the Rook Discord joined their Discord, or they went and looked at the Rook Discord, but then they suddenly, after like Rook holders decided that they wanted value for their tokens and did something about it, they started banning a bunch of the RFEOrs or like people that usually care about this kind of stuff from their own server. So I wrote this like quick thread here, but they actually this is what has got people upset more recently is they voted that by November 2022, they would move all the funds to be in control of the DAO. But now we're in like May, and haven't moved the funds to be in control of the DAO. Today they did one of the first transfers, which was of 300k. So 300k of the 200 million so far is in the DAO, and they're supposed to move the other 200 million. They haven't really announced when, but the vote was for all of it to move, and the vote has passed. So at some point, that vote has to be enacted on, and then holders can use their ant to vote for buybacks and things along those lines. So it's one to keep an eye out on. There's a little bit of FUD and craziness as they started banning people out of nowhere today, but it's definitely undervalued in a book value sense. The second one is very popular on crypto Twitter, so we have Nexus Mutual. Have you ever looked at Nexus Mutual?
It's been a while. I looked at them. Trying to think of what project it was for. Last cycle I did for a bit.
Yeah.
Um, but it's been a long time.
So DGen Spartan is the famous fudder of Nexus Mutual. Like he's been on and on about how he thinks the team just wants to like kind of drain the capital pool for themselves, and I think that destroyed a lot of trust in NXM. And trust is something that's very important for an insurance protocol. I think the team finally realized that a lot of their holders have just been trapped, and it's time to fairly let them out. And it's also time to do something that brings trust back to the token so that people feel comfortable using the protocol itself. So what I like about them is they themselves are taking care of this problem. They're not waiting for holders to come around and start rioting and putting up votes and making it all hostile, but they're like, we understand we're going to get back to book value and here's how we're going to do it. So that's why I like it. If you want, you can check out their docs, but they have a whole doc here about how they're going to get back to book value. So I would just read this like timeline here, but the key is this RFC, which is the tokenomics change. And they already voted on the change, and the vote like passed by like a long mile for the new tokenomics proposal to go in. So option A was the ratcheting design, and that design is highlighted here in this RFC. So I would take a look through this design, but essentially what it says is where members are not allowed to exit right now because it trades below book value, and the goal is to bring the price of NXM, WNXM back together. The price of NXM is basically the book value price. So right now we trade at 0.01454, and the RFV or the book value is 0.021 or 0.022. So, and it's 100% ETH. So what I did was I just swapped a bunch of my ETH for NXM, and it's basically just like free leverage on ETH, right? As
What
long as
was
they don't,
what's the percent on that? Is that like
it's like
40?
60%. Yeah. So
So
still
yeah,
like,
so 40% under, yeah.
yeah, there's still
Okay.
like a 50% upside to get back to book value all in ETH. So for me, it's like I can hold my ETH as ST ETH and I can get 5% a year, or I can hold my ETH as WNXM, and as long as this gets figured out within a year, I get 50%. So it's like getting 10 years of validator rewards in my mind. So I just hold my ETH, as much of my ETH as I could, as WNXM. Whenever there's a little dip, I kind of just swap into it. Now, of course, there's risks. It's not actually like you're getting validator rewards. It's not programmed into the smart contract. Like the team could rug the tokenomics that they put up themselves. There could be an exploit on the capital pool and all that kind of stuff. But that's what I did. Of course, not all of my ETH, but a good amount, and that's my strategy there. So I thought that was some like good alpha for the call. Um,
Yeah. You have to feel pretty safe in an insurance protocol, though.
yeah, it is an insurance protocol. That is true.
So it's not more than some of the other sketchy ones, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not like the team is malicious, and it's not like
yeah,
you have to hope that holders will make this happen. The team themselves are making this happen, and they're moving forward, and they're trying to create trust and fix that. So take a look. If you want more info, there's a tokenomics discussion channel in Discord, which is really good that I've been quite active in. Um, then the next one that I like for like RFE type stuff, um, well, I don't know if I like it or dislike it. I bought it because it was undervalued, and then it ended up being a lot more toxic than I originally thought, but it is Concave. So I think we've talked about Concave in the past, but it's been a very
yeah.
long battle. But they they used to advertise, what is it, concave.lol is their website? Yeah. They used to advertise their book value was like $30, and I hated that because I knew it was a lie. It was just like tricking people into buying their token when their book value is actually like $10. But after like a lot of arguing, they've finally come around and really started to fix their ways. So now they're a lot more transparent. It trades at like $5, and their book value is 10.22 per concave, and they're saying their liquid book value is 7.35. So there's still, some upside there. And they passed this proposal that says that if they don't hit these milestones, then they'll RFV like literally everything. And these milestones, some of them I think are bullshit. Like Discord engagement and Twitter engagement shouldn't be separate milestones, and they shouldn't be weighted as much of as making $5 million. Like obviously we care a lot more about you making $5 million than you getting Twitter or Discord engagement, right?
Yeah, it's
So I
so
think,
easy to bot.
yeah, I think they kind of like fucked with this a little bit, but the essence of, okay, look, we're trying to change. We're gonna spend less. We're gonna get burned down, and in the worst case, you will be able to get your book value is there. So I think it's worth dabbling into, but for me, I don't think it's like an all in. This is like a sure thing. But what is cool is that they say they're launching three products, like an options product, an insurance product, and a MEV product, all within 6 months. So if any of these products are good, you're like below RFE, you got supposed products launching, and they've actually made good investments. So one thing that has been alluded to in the Concave Discord that hasn't been like formalized is if they got the Barachain seed, and that was before their previous raise. But they keep talking about it, and they tweet things like this, like bears keep secrets or whatever. But I'm pretty sure it's like an open secret in there that they did. So if they have this seed, they have like tapioca as a seed, they have fluidity as a seed. So they ended up landing some pretty good seeds. So this like illiquid amount of 10 could actually end up being far higher once these seeds become a little more liquid and get priced in.
So
So
10's without seeds, correct? Yes,
10 is
assets.
no, 10 is
Yes.
with the value of the seeds at investment time, not at current
Yeah,
time,
but
right?
yeah, you would expect that those are launching multiples higher, or you would think.
Exactly. So if it does happen,
Yeah,
then this could be worth far more.
got
So
it.
it's something I've just been like looking at. I bought out the biggest investor a few months back at like $3.50. So I'm up a little bit, and I locked on my concave for the long run to be aligned. But I'm hoping this change is serious, and I'm hoping it works out. But it is definitely trading far below its quote unquote RFE book value backing, whatever. Um, That's the second one. Then the third one is a bit interesting, but it's actually nouns. So I got myself like a few nouns. I didn't buy too many of them because of how fast they're spending, but they had this vote for basically their version of Rage Quit, and the nouns holders voted that it was urgent and important. So it's become like the main task for the verbs team, and the verbs team are the people that are paid to do dev work for nouns. So they're working on building out this like DAO split thing. If you join the Jungle Discord, that's like where most nouns holders hang out. There's a lot of extra info in there. But just in case, like we think at the end of the day it'll fail, like the founder literally wrote this blog post thinking about Rage Quit that I think is worth reading. But at the end of the day, he agrees that a compliant version of Rage Quit is necessary for Nouns DAO. There's too many people that are upset and want out. So there might be some value in buying a noun and getting involved there. And in the worst case, what's the website? Nouns.wtf? Yeah.
I don't know. That
Yeah,
sounds right.
nouns.wtf, that's it. So in the worst case, you get to play around and like, take part in the DAO. What I like about nouns is like there's actually proposals. Every week I show up and there's like 10 new things that everyone
Some of
has to
them are
vote
so
on.
random.
But
I crack
I
up reading through some of these.
a lot of them are
Yeah.
hilarious and
Mm,
sometimes like really shitty ones that make no sense to me pass, which gets me upset. But at times like, they do get defeated. Like mechanical keyboards got defeated. This archives product got defeated. So I think they're starting to become more cognizant about spend, but there are still some that like I don't like. Like this esports one passed. This was so far they've spent like $2 million plus on esports, and this proposal includes like buying wellness coaches for the players. Like I totally get it, esports works and stuff, but I don't think we need to be buying them wellness coaches. I think these esports teams can get multiple sponsors, and one of which could be nouns instead of spending so much directly. But that's a discussion for another day. Realistically, there's 28,500 ETH in the treasury, and I think we're auctioning off now in like number 700. So what is that? 28,588 over 700. I think that's like, yeah, 40 ETH per noun in book value. So if they're able to ship this rage compliant, rage quit or whatever, or compliant DAO split
what are they selling
before,
for?
and they're selling for like
You
20,
click back a few.
no, no.
Okay.
So, when there's a fancy one, they actually go for a lot. Like this Froggy Boy went for more than most, and this DNA Bro did too, but you can get them for like your 25 mostly go for.
Yeah.
So it's not bad. And it's a full ETH treasury. So it's like if you're holding ETH and it's backed by more ETH, then it might be a decent trade. So I got a few nouns. And I've had fun participating in the DAO, sharing my takes, talking in jungle. It's been cool. And hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully they trade to book value once they start shipping like rage quit like mechanisms. So there's that one.
There's there's a pretty cool proposal. It's been a while, maybe a few months, but they were Aura. There's a proposal
Oh,
for them
okay.
to deposit some of that in Aura and make like the 20 like
They should,
10K of
yeah.
it. I think it was 10K of it, make it more productive. But I think it failed at the time, and like they talked about like, hey, we're gonna start like way smaller and like maybe start scaling in. But like I think that would be awesome and like also bullish for both Nouns and Aura if they like grow that relationship. But just another comment from like
Yeah.
Nouns that I was somewhat tracking, but I'm not a Nouns holder.
Yeah, so they actually did STETH. Like they hold a bunch of the treasury as STETH. So I think they are getting some yield on the treasury. It's not all naked ETH. So that's good.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
exactly.
the last one is so this one, like honestly, I don't even know if I'm so comfortable sharing because it's like the dev is like literally being malicious right now. What he does is he just like ghosts all the holders for months and then comes back, announces something and then ghosts them again. I personally am hopeful because whenever he does announce something, it's not like a bad thing. He doesn't announce like you're all screwed. He like announces, "Hey, don't worry, the token is still backed, but we're gonna go do some farming on Ethereum," and then doesn't say anything about how it'll get back to backing. So he tries to like avoid the subject and then disappears, which creates a bunch of FUD, and then the token price goes down. So it's very hard to understand his motives. Half the Discord thinks he's malicious. Half the Discord thinks he's just slow. No one really knows what's going on, but it's SPA. The RFE there is like 65, and it trades at around 30. But another thing, the reason I'm not gonna say I like it. The reason I'm interested in it is because there's also like a recent lawsuit that dropped that I think could set good standards for the rest of DeFi. So I saw these guys recently showed up in the RFE space, named Patagon, but they have been leading the charge to sue the Spartacus DAO, and they managed to get a judge to put a restraining order on literally the wallets um, of the DAO and of the founder. So if the guy does do anything, then it would actually be like illegal in the US. And I think if this passes or if this like goes through the courts and ends up working out, it could create some really strong precedents for token holders getting actual value for their tokens. Like right now, everyone's like, oh, valueless governance token. But this would prove that if a project says the token is backed, or if the project says there is an RFE, then there actually is one. You can't just say like, oh, it's a valueless governance token out of nowhere, or token holders have no rights out of nowhere. If DAO votes pass that say, hey, distribute the treasury, which is what happened here, then they have to abide by those. And it'd be really cool to see like the U.S. government say like, yeah, that's true too, or the U.S. law system say that's true too. So I'm keeping an eye on this, not just because of the RFE play, but also because of the precedent it could set. And I think I like these guys are interesting. I think they're worth checking out, but they're also suing some other
That is
DAOs
cool.
or saying they have positions in other DAOs that are undervalued. So that's a cool one. But yeah, that's what I got.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm always sketched out on that one. I won't touch SPA.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, I always wallets were like Tornado funded, and
they are
like he
all
was
tornado
always,
funded. Yeah.
yeah. The one time I joined, I got wrecked, but so I left and like didn't look
Never
back.
came
But
back.
I mean, there's
But they
tons of
doxed
value
him.
there.
You can actually look at
Did
his
they? Oh, I
docs.
didn't know that.
I didn't want to bring it up,
I didn't
but
know.
these Patagon
Yeah.
guys, if you read the legal papers, I sent them to you in our show notes. But you can find them on the internet. But his docs is out there, and he seems like a regular bro. So it's interesting. It's a fun story to like dive into yourself and hopefully get some value from him. I hope he does the right thing. I hope he can not scam everyone, and I hope the legals aren't even needed. But if they are needed, it'll be interesting to see it all play out.
Yeah, that will be. I think the U.S. also was pushing regulation. Like I want to say it was Tom Emmer or I can't think of who actually pushed it out. It was a recent like deep dive into U.S. regulation, but they were saying like anytime a token was redeemable, it could be considered a stable coin,
Mm,
which like makes me like think about how RFV stuff will play out in the future. If they say like, hey, if you're redeeming 1-to-1, like, hey, we can technically consider your token a stable token because you're redeeming for like a backed like treasury.
oh,
But like,
interesting.
I also like think that that's another reason I really lean towards something like Ohm, like doing a range bound system because it's not technically really redeemable, but like they've almost gamed the
Right.
system and already front running that. But I don't know, it's interesting, but I'll definitely follow that because it does set a cool precedent.
Yeah. But yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I still have so much stuff on my notes, like temple
Yeah,
and
it's all good.
origami and all that stuff. But I think we should save it for the next episode. We're like whole 30 minutes over time.
Agreed. But it's good to get back on, and
Cool,
thanks
dude.
everybody for coming. Follow us, comment, subscribe. I don't know,
Yeah. Hope you
whatever,
liked
whatever
the
there
return
is.
episode. We'll see you next time. I'll end the stream
Yep.
now. Peace.